Hey guys, Merry Meet. This is Anastasia Autumnfire, and today's video is finally my retrospection with working with the magician. It's about 2 weeks late, and I apologize for that. I ran into Thanksgiving, and then I got very sick, and my voice is still kind of out of it, but I've got to get it up, otherwise I'm gonna get so far off track with my tarot study. So I do have my tea, and I apologize if I'm probably gonna take a few swigs from it, just to keep my throat warm and liquefied. So yeah, the Magician was an amazing card to have with me for a week and work with, and the Labradorite as well, I think, is a perfect crystal to work with the Magician, in my opinion. The Labradorite, I found, really helped to separate my own feelings, my own aura, my own kind of energies from everyone else's. I have a huge issue with taking on other people's energies. Just I try to differ words here and there, but really energy is energy, and I'll take them on. And it doesn't happen too often. Usually it is mostly at work. But it really helped with that. And it also helped, and I think the card also worked with this. I have a lot of issues saying no to people. I have a lot of issues telling people exactly where I'm coming from, what I think, all that kind of jazz. And this week was very much about being assertive, being decisive. I had a lot of people asking, hey, you should come out and do this. Hey, you should come out and do that. And where normally I would be like, oh, I don't want you to be mad at me. Oh, I don't want you to think I don't, I'm a crummy friend. I don't want to be a party pooper. I don't want to be the old person that no one invites out again. But I really had no problem that week just saying, I'm tired. I don't want to. The holidays are coming up. Maybe I shouldn't be spending money out and about. I should probably put it towards something that is more important at this point. And I was really empowered by that. And the card, that's kind of a good segue, because the card itself was very empowering. I found it to be a very masculine card, in that for me, magic comes a couple of different ways. Magic can just be. It just is. It just is. And I mean, in a very general sense, yes. Magic just is. But I think when it comes to the goddess, it's very natural. It's intuitive. It's just a part of you. When I was a little girl, I loved the moon. I was definitely a moon kid. My Grandma Marie and Grandpa Ray and I would sit out on the steps and look at the moon and just sit there looking at it for hours. Like, that was our thing. And I remember when I was growing up and kind of learned about the tides coming in and how the moon controlled them. And I remember asking my grandma, why did the moon do that? How could the moon do that? And she just said, well, she just does. And that's kind of how I approach a lot of magic. It just is. I understand gravitational pull. When the leaves change in the autumn, I understand why it's happening. But I do think a lot of things in this world are both science and have an element of magic as well. I think there is a certain amount of times and places where science leaves off. There's a good chunk that isn't explained, that is still unknown, that is just kind of out there, and that's where magic is, I think. And that's where I find the goddess in just that it just is that way. It just happens that way. You know, why do things happen the way they do? Because it does. And that's the magic of the divine feminine. Maid, mother, and crone. I mean, she can be vengeful and wrathful and angry. Or she can be nurturing and loving and supportive. I mean, it goes, and every variation in between that. I mean, it's just this huge spectrum. And the Magician, for me, the card the Magician, and the feeling I had and kind of the vibe I got from it all week was very masculine. It wasn't that feminine. It just is. It's just natural. It just happens this way. It's manipulated. It's, I don't want to say contrived. Even manipulated, it kind of sounds negative, but it's created. It's, I don't want to say forced, but it is. I mean, it's, the picture says it all. There's the Magician and the hand, male or female, because I have seen both genders in depictions. We've got the hand up in the air signaling to spirit. You've got the hand on the ground signaling to the physical realm. So they're pulling things from the spiritual realm through to the physical plane, using themselves as a channel or as a conduit. And the elements, or symbols of the elements, are laid out on the altar right in front of them. So they're using the elements to manifest, to create, to bring about this power. And that isn't necessarily natural. It's something that is created. It's something that's pulled. It's something that's manifested. And manifest has always kind of been a dirty word for me. I don't know why. And I don't mean it to be, because it's such a powerful and positive thing. But I just, if it's manifesting for other people, cool. I'm on it. It's awesome. I love that. But when it's for myself, I struggle with that a lot. And I actually, during this week, I was really struggling with a couple of things, and my buddy Brandon pointed out, he was texting me, asking me to do stuff, and I'm like, no, I don't feel like it, and he's like, dude, what's wrong? I can tell something's wrong. And I kind of went off on my little tangent, and, you know, work this, and, you know, I'm Lily, and this and that and the other thing, and he's like, well, sweetie, here's the thing. I'm sorry life is tough right now. But in the same breath, you need to pull your striped socks up and you need to get a hold of yourself, because you're way more powerful than this. And at the time I kind of got defensive. It's like, listen here, buddy, I'm having a rough time. I can have a rough time. But the point was very, I mean, as soon as I kind of had that moment of defensiveness, then all of a sudden I looked at my phone and I can see, because I've got the backdrop of my phone is the Magician, and I can see the Magician looking in the background. I'm like, oh, you jackass. You know, it just kind of hit me like a ton of bricks that's really a major lesson of the card is, hey, sometimes you have to be a big boy or girl, and you have to say, no, I can do this. If I need something, if I want something, I have the power to control that. If I want to be a positive person and everyone around me is super negative and bringing me down and I'm feeding into that, I have the ability to say, nope, I'm done. I'm not dealing with you guys. I'm not feeding into your negativity. I'll put my little headset in, put Muse on, and I'll be good. Get some Bare Naked Ladies going, listen to Offspring. I'll be a happy little girl. I don't need to feed into what other people are bringing to the table when it's not productive, when it's not conducive for me. And when a situation arises that I start to feel guilt or anxiety about, because anxiety is a huge deal, I don't need to. I can withdraw myself, and the Labradorite really helped with that too, because it kind of pushed away, it slowed things down a bit, if that makes sense. And I don't know, yeah, it was just that week, because I've had anxious moments since then, and no, nothing's been slowed down. But things did for that week or so. Every time I started getting anxious, every time I started getting worried or nervous, I felt this kind of pushback and just focus. Why am I freaking out? What is the issue here? Oh, I don't want my friends to think I'm bailing on them or never want to go out. You know what? They probably are just putting out the invitation. They don't really care if I take it or not. If it's a really big deal, they'll tell me it's a really big deal. And sure enough, every time I'm like, I'd really love to, but I'm tired, or, I'd love to, but I'd like to go home and see my family and watch a movie, and yeah, sure, no problem. They were totally cool with it. And 9 times out of 10, I would not even accept them saying, yeah, I'm cool with it. I would have gone home and been just venting to anyone and everyone that would listen. Oh my God, I know my friends hate me now and this and that. But no, I was able to let it go. I was able to release that anxiety because I had that moment of clarity. And I had that moment where I was able to take the reins and realize I want some downtime. I think for everyone that's important, especially when you're spiritual, regardless of what your faith is, regardless of your religion. Christians need their downtime, pagans need their downtime, everyone does. And heck, people that have no spirituality, just humans, we need our downtime. And I'm sorry, I'm just going to take a quick sip. Oh my God, so good. So everyone needs that, and there's no harm in giving yourself that. There's no harm in creating that for yourself. When the universe seems to be piling on these, obligations, because for me, anything and everything becomes an obligation, and that sounds terrible, but I don't mean it to be, because I love it. I love hanging out with my friends. I love going out, and having time with my family, and having time with my, even my extended family, my sisters, my brother, my mom, my friends from work, my friends from theater, my witchy sister. I love getting together and crafting with her and hitting the shops. I absolutely love going out. I go stir crazy when I get too much when I'm at home. But there are those times where I just need quiet. I need to be in the bathtub with some bath salts, and I need to chill. I need to go to bed early. I need to just sit at my altar. I need to just sit on the couch. There are several times I just want to chill. And a lot of times I identify that that's what I need, but I won't take the steps needed to create that for myself. Because, but I told so-and-so I was going to do this. But although I was really excited for going home and watching Avengers, now I can't do that because, so-and-so from work wants to go to such and such a bar, and I haven't gone out for a happy hour in forever, so I really should just go make an appearance. And making an appearance is never making an appearance. You're always there till at least midnight. Usually later. So, and that's a different kind of manifestation, I understand. It's not magic per se, but it's that same concept. It's a different kind of power. It's giving yourself the power to do what you need to do, to say what you need to say, I'm channeling MC Hammer suddenly, to live how you want to live, play how you want to play. Anyway, we're not singing Addams Family. Focus, Anna. So, it's a different kind of power that I was embracing. There were two major types. One, personal power, where it wasn't necessarily magical, it wasn't necessarily witchy. It was about, this is what I need as a person. This is what I need as a woman. This is what I need as a mom. You know, these are all the things that I need. And sometimes, yeah, they're what I want. But I'm going to allow myself the power to do those things. I'm going to allow myself the power and give myself the power and embrace it. Not be ashamed of it. Not be, oh gosh, guys, I'm really sorry I couldn't come out with you. No. I chose not to come out with you. I wanted to go home and spend time with my family. No. I didn't want to go out with you. I'm tired. I want to go to sleep. And no apologies, no second thoughts, no sitting all night twiddling my thumbs, fretting, wondering, oh, I hope they're okay with me. I hope they're not mad at me when I go into work tomorrow. No, it was fine. And it felt good to have that kind of acknowledgement and knowing that when all is said and done, I need to do what I need to do, and I need to not feel bad about it. The other kind of power that I really felt is embraced and it represented with the Magician card is that magical manifestation. It is that, hey, you need motivation. What elements can you work within to find motivation, to give you that extra strength, to give you that extra oomph? A lot of it comes from study. A lot of it comes from research. And I know a lot of times in these videos I go specific. I say specifically witch. It's how I identify. So that's kind of why. But certainly it doesn't have to be specifically witch. It can be anyone on a spiritual path. I do think it is about spirituality, but it doesn't have to be my spirituality, if that makes sense. But as a witch, and I actually think this is a pretty good life lesson, period. Any witch or person who's trying to accomplish something, you need to put an amount of research into things. You need to look into things. You need to understand why you're doing them. When I was a newbie witch, there were so many things, looking back on notes I had taken and sites I had, bookmarked and stuff. I look back and go, what the Hades was I looking at? Why was I even thinking this was right? And it wasn't that it's wrong, because I'm sure it resonates with someone, but it didn't resonate with me, and I could have evolved within that time, or it could have just been, and this is really what it was when I think about it, when I look at it, it was, oh, this is a prosperity spell. I'm going to write it down. Did you research any of the elements? No. But this is what, such and such a website said to do, so that's what I'm going to do. And later on, it's like, really? Because cinnamon actually speaks much higher for me, personally, for prosperity than... I can't think right now. Apples. I don't think apples were on there. I guess maybe if you stretch it, fertility. You're giving fertility to your finances. Excuse me. Sorry about that. But I can't remember the exact example right now, but it was something along the lines, well, there was more than just that. There were quite a few spells that I had jotted down and written down, and it was like, it comes down to, I love how many resources there are out there, but they should be a jumping point, really. They should be a place to start and jump from. But we should always be looking into things. We should always be reading things. We should always be understanding things before we do anything. I luckily was a note taker, but I didn't necessarily do anything with those notes that I looked at, a year or so later and went, what were you doing? I was too worried about doing something wrong. So, but my point is, The Magician is very much about using the elements to manifest what you want or need, but in using those elements, you need to know what you're using and why you're using it and how to use it. You need to be a student. You need to be a seeker. And I absolutely embrace that phase. I love that about paganism as a whole. And honestly, I think really if you look at any faith or religious base, they should be promoting that you're always a student, because there's always something to learn. There's always something to find out. And any religion, again, this is just my thought process, any religion that you get to a certain point and go, okay, I know it all. I don't know how. I don't know, something that there's so many unknowns. I don't know how you get to that point. But again, that's just me. But I really like that. I love working intuitively. I'm learning to really embrace that aspect. But I will always be, the magician's apprentice. I will always be that studious little girl, reading from all these reference guides and kind of pulling what makes sense to me. It's really about balance. And I think, the High Priestess with tarot is so much about intuition. It's so much about, using that moon goddess wisdom and using that innate magic that we have inside us. And the Magician, for me, again, just for me, was very much about taking what you learn and applying it and learning how to use these elements, combining them in the right way and using them in the right way to bring something from the spiritual plane and manifest it in the physical so that you can have what you need. And it's the same type of thing, but it's in a different manner. It's that whole, this is going to sound very stereotypical, and I don't mean it to, but it's going to. The whole idea that women work so much off of feeling and emotion, and men work so much off of knowledge and logic. I mean, it's the reason why water is thought of as a feminine element and air is the male element. But it's kind of the same way. For me, the Magician card is very air-based. It's very much about knowledge. And yes, it does have that mysticism. Yes, it has that magic. Yes, it has that supernatural side. But it's only because you are understanding how to utilize it and bring it and use yourself as a channel. And it is a never-ending quest, because there's always something more to learn and there's always something more to know. There's always a way to grow. Okay, I sounded a little Seussical there, but daughter discovered Dr. Seuss this last week, so it's a thing. But it was very empowering. It was wonderful to kind of hear other girls at work talking about this, that, and the other thing, and thinking to myself, really? You're getting worked up over this? Why don't you just do this? And then having that little voice in the back of my head go, you realize last week you were saying the same thing as all of them. Like, you could not figure out for the life of you what you were going to do for the holidays. You did not know for the life of you how you were going to solve this case. And it's just amazing what kind of epiphanies you can have when you slow down, when you take that time to really think things through and try to gain an understanding, when you use that logical side. And as a person, I'm very masculine in nature. I mean, obviously I am a female, that's a thing, but again, this is kind of a stereotype. I really don't mean to be playing with stereotypes, but I do see this a lot, and I myself am guilty. As a woman, there are a lot of times I come home and I'm just like, complain about this, complain about that, and this and this and this and this and this. And, you know, the first thing is, okay, well, let's try to fix this. Well, let's see, Anna, if you didn't want to do this, why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? And I'll seriously be like, I just want to vent. Women 9 times out of 10 want to be heard. We want to express ourselves and know that our expression is being understood and appreciated. The male perspective, a lot of times, is I want to fix things. Although I am a woman, traditional feminine, I should say, I have that, I struggle with the male-female thing just because that's such a fluid idea in this day and age. Like, saying women do this and men do that, it seems so outdated now to rely on that, so I hope I'm getting through. It's a feminine quality to work off of emotion, whereas the masculine quality is to fix it. I want to fix it. If I hear one of my friends complaining about their boyfriend, well, the way I look at it, yeah, 2 choices. You either deal with it or you break up with them. Neither of you are going to be dead. You both will be fine. It will probably hurt like, Hades, but it'll be fine. You'll get through it. And it's not popular, but if it's if it's a deal breaker and it's this much trouble where 2 weeks you have to be complaining about the same thing, just be done. Obviously, I don't ever say that, but in my head, that's what I'm thinking, because in my mind, that's what it is. Let's fix the situation. This is bugging you. He either needs to fix it or she either needs to fix it, or they don't. If they don't, you need to figure out, can you live with it or can you not live with it? Problem solved. And that's how my mind works when I'm working with other people. When I'm working with myself, oh, heavens. A lot of shadow work there. But that's kind of my point, is I do work in that fix this solution scenario. So I don't think masculine and feminine need to be gender roles by any means. It's just, I think I lost my main point because I started explaining my point and then I got so focused on that I lost where my train of thought was. I'm sorry. But ultimately, the Magician card for me was about embracing your power. It was about continuing to learn, continuing to be the student, knowing you will always be the student, and using that knowledge to manifest things for your betterment and for the betterment of others. Because certainly as a pagan, I think, again, as a base for most religions, the idea is to leave this world in a better situation than you found it. But definitely for pagans, that's a thing. And I think it's just about separating and acknowledging things. Like, really, I think that that role of a student becomes so much more internal than even than I let it be at times. I think I'm a student because I look things up. I think I'm a student because I research, because I have books, because I do this, because I do that. But I need to look inward as well and find out, does this resonate with me? Does this speak to my intuition as well? I need to be objective when dealing with my emotions. Wow, that was an aha moment there. I've not said that before. I've not really realized that before. But that's very true. I need to be objective and need to be a student when working through my own stuff. When working through maybe not even just a spell or working, but meditations, definitely shadow work. But even in everyday life, in my mundane life especially, you know, look towards the inside and what are the elements within me saying to me? And using that magician's intellect to aid with the high priestess's intuition. I don't know if that makes sense to anyone else, but that really amps me up. I'm so happy right now. Like, I'm so just jazzed. Oh, I seriously, and again, it might not make sense to anyone else in this world, but it makes sense to me, and I'm super jazzed because next week's card is the High Priestess. So, on that note, I'm totally gonna end this video. And that just goes to show you sometimes a ramble where you completely lose where your train of thought was going is still an awesome thing, because you don't know what where rambling will get you. Or at least where it will get me. Anyway, this is over 30 minutes. Thanks for sticking it out with me. Please like, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Comment. I love comments. Even if, you know, I try to respond back all the time, even if it's just a smiley face or a thank you or a heart or something. Please, do whatever. I'll see you guys soon. Bye. Blessed be.